Gowan Auto, 9 brands under one roof, EV insurance going up and up, BMW M Sport, F1 Motorhome for sale, London Electric Vehicle Company, Ford corporate leader, in-hub electric motors, EV timeline, ICE engines after 2035, but only if on e-fuel. Hello and welcome to this week's MotorZen News. Gowan Group, which is now under its new banner going to be called Gowan Auto, is moving to its new HQ in City West. Under its new banner, it's going to have 7 brands. Traditionally, Gowan Group was recognised as being traditional importer for Peugeot and Citroën. Now they've got Alfa, Citroën, DS, Fiat, Fiat Pro, Honda, Jeep, Opel and Peugeot. They've got a new parts facility in that building, 110,000 square foot, and they do 3 deliveries per day to their dealer network. So very good parts support there to all those brands. They've also got a training academy, and that incorporates 2 classrooms. They've sold the building on the N7, the Honda building on the N7, and they've sold the HQ to develop all resources under one roof at the City West HQ. So this is an Irish company that's looking after all these brands, unlike, for example, Volkswagen, which is owned by Germany, and BMW, which is owned by Germany. In this instance, the car manufacturers supply the cars to Gowan, and they distribute them out to their dealers and run the whole network from there. EV insurance. The premiums on EV insurance keep going up. And the reasoning behind this is that you're now starting to see EVs that are going through the system as a result of an accident. And what's happening is the insurance companies are saying that the automakers are not giving them any information about the batteries. And what the insurance companies are encountering is very, very slight damage on a battery pack. They're getting no information at all from the manufacturers as to how to deal with this, how to repair it, is it repairable, technically how they should go about it. So they've been forced to declare the vehicle's total loss, or in our language, write-offs. And this is meaning that vehicles that damage-wise are not anything close to total loss write-off are now going to scrap. And the insurance companies are saying this is the reasoning why that the insurance premiums are going up, because the vehicles are out there now, they're getting involved in accidents and they're starting to process them, and this is what they're discovering. The price of replacement batteries uneconomical, so you can have a very fresh electrical, which all of them are very fresh electrical vehicles, very slight damage on the battery, but the vehicles are right off. This makes sense because a couple of weeks ago we did a story about Tesla and their own insurance company, and this seems to be kind of the reasoning behind Tesla setting up their insurance company, which was to try and reduce the cost of insurance for their customers, because they were aware that this was an issue out there. So this is one that's going to play out interestingly now over the next couple of years again in regard to how EVs incorporate themselves into the future economy. Anybody who likes cars will know of the M as in performance division of BMW. Everybody will recognise an M3, E30, E36, E46, an M5, E39, E60, E61. Iconic vehicles to anybody that has any interest in motor vehicles. Iconic internal combustion vehicles. Fantastic. And the E30, a fantastic 4-cylinder performance engine, but then we had 6s and 8s in the like of the 5. By 2027, BMW is saying that BEV and PHEV will outsell internal combustion engines in the M Sport range, and they're saying that by 2030 only 10% of the M performance vehicles sold will be internal combustion engines. So if anybody doubts that the change is coming or occurring, that's the iconic performance internal combustion brand. And this is the statistics that they're giving us as to what's happening within the M Sport brand within BMW. Okay, so we have traditional F1 fans, and then we have F1 fans that have come from Drive to Survive. Whichever grouping you're in, I know you'll be fascinated to see in pre-race interviews and post-race interviews those team buildings that are at every track. Each team have got these enormous buildings, and looking at them, you'd assume they're permanent structures. They're not. They're motorhomes. They're transported to and from each race. Well, there's a video up there now, and we'll put a link to this down below, showing the size of these temporary structures that are transported to each race. The Force India, which was a team up to around 2018, 2019, their motorhome is for sale. You've got, whenever you would see interviews or camera work done around these facilities, nobody ever got to see the complete size of this thing and all the rooms that are in it. Well, there's a video up there now showing, basically promoting, because this motorhome, the Force India motorhome, is for sale. They reckon it costs $4 million to manufacture. You will have full kitchen, eating space, bathrooms, sleeping areas, top floor lounge, and it's on the market for €500,000. So very interesting to see how it goes together and the enormity and the size of it, because when you look at Drive to Survive or you look at the F1 build-up, you see these structures and they're incredible, but they are temporary, they are motorhomes, and they are transported race to race. So we've got some footage of that, and if you click down below you'll see the full video. LEVC, London Electric Vehicle Company, we spoke about them a couple of weeks ago as well. They're just after rolling off the 10,000 vehicle off the production line in Coventry. Last year was the highest number sold. They're the people that do the black taxis in London, the electric taxis in London. Last year they sold the highest number ever, 2,508 TX black taxis. They've got a total of 6,000 TX black taxis travelling around London now, more than diesel. So the black taxi produced by the London Electric Vehicle Company, LEVC, now exceeds the traditional diesel taxis in London, and the black cab has been going for 75 years, but now it's fairly much committed now to being electric as a result of the work done by the Electric Vehicle Company, which only started up in 2018, remember. So again, it shows you the pace of change that's occurring here. Ford corporate leader, a global environmental not-for-profit organisation, has said that Ford is a corporate leader in regard to reducing its freshwater use. Ford is working towards completely zero consumption of fresh water in the manufacture of its vehicles and products. And this organisation has commended in the achievements that it's already after making. It's after reducing its freshwater use by 76%, which they equate to 186 billion gallons of water, which they equate that to 1.7 million homes water use for 1 year. And when you read further into this, you think, is this just Ford being a good citizen of the world? This organisation highlights to companies the financial benefits. So what they're doing is they're highlighting the fact that fresh water is going to become expensive. It's going to become rare and it's going to become expensive. And they're assisting these organisations to find ways to recycle and reuse water within their manufacturing processes. But it looks like Ford is coming out top of the class worldwide in that regard. Scheffler is producing a hub mounted motor which will go into production with 3 municipal utility vehicle manufacturers in the next 2 or 3 months. This motor will be mounted in each hub within can go down to a 14-inch wheel, designed for inner city working of sweepers, snow plows, waste collection, zero CO2, zero noises. The whole concept is that you can then make the vehicle much more manoeuvrable and much smaller. The motor will contain the stator, rotor, gearbox, friction brake in there as well, all mounted in the hub on top of the wheel bearing. This is coming from Scheffler. BMW are also working with this concept of hub motors, and they're working with a company called Deep Drive. They're saying that it's going to allow them to produce smaller, lighter vehicles, but not compromise the interior space by making them smaller and lighter. And another interesting angle on this is that you can vary the speed of each motor. So the suggestion is eventually, when they fine-tune the concept, that there may be no need for steering, that they can just vary the speed of the motors in order to turn the vehicle. So again, interesting concepts as a result of electric vehicles as opposed to mechanical drive coming out from these two concepts that we're going to start seeing soon. The Renault boss has come out this week, Luca Di Maio, and he said that research and development money within most of the brands now is going to EV and hydrogen, and virtually nobody is spending money on ICE engine development. He said that 11 brands will be completely EV by 2030. By mid-decade, Jaguar, for example, will be electric only. Renault, Volvo, Ford, Bentley and Rolls will only produce electric vehicles by 2030. Stellantis has come out and said most, if not all, of its vehicles will be electric by 2030. Audi have come out and said they will be electric by 2026, and they will end ICE engines by 2033. And BMW and Mercedes have come out and said that they will be fully EV on or before 2030. So again, you're trying to work this out against news that we talked about last week, which was some of the German manufacturers and Italian manufacturers that are opposing the ICE ban for 2035. Well, what we're seeing is it looks like now that the European Union is going to draft some new rules that will allow ICE engines to be used after 2035, but it will only be internal combustion engines that use e-fuel. So, and what they're saying in this legislation, that it will be mandatory that their sensors are built into the engine management system that will shut down the engine if it senses any carbon in the fuel. So the idea that you'll have an internal combustion engine and that you can work it on now petrol will be, they're saying that they're going to put sensors to stop you from doing that. Well, probably what I'm saying is the guys are going to figure out how to map out the sensors to allow it to run on petrol fuel, but that remains to be seen. But e-fuel will be very, very expensive. This is, I think, the concept that's been driven by Germany. If I rewind back and try and understand this, where is this coming from? Coming from the likes of Porsche, who really were of the opinion that their brand almost doesn't exist if they don't have the sound, the feel and the vibration of an internal combustion engine. They were the ones saying they wouldn't go into F1 unless F1 started to use e-fuel. They've agreed to go into F1. Formula One's going to use e-fuel from 2026 on. But again, this is going to be very expensive fuel and it's going to be very low volume. So it seems clear now that we're going to have all these different forms of propulsion. We're going to have some form of ICE engine, but not in mass numbers, not in volumes, possibly towards sport, motorsport and performance road cars. That's how it seems to be shaping up, in spite of the fact that the EU has rolled back a little bit. It's still only a little bit. That's it for this week. You know the score. Please, if you could, like, comment and subscribe. Anybody you know that's in the industry, that's involved around the industry, that's involved around the trade, if you could just share it on to one person, that'd be great. Thanks, and see you next week.